Just curious, did anybody not get like the instructions for logging onto the server and uploading and downloading files and that sort of thing?
I don't think we did anything with uploading or downloading files yet, but I believe
Okay.
everyone should have received how to log into the new system with their login credentials.
Okay, I'm gonna throw the uploading and downloading option onto the chat here. And that should be available for people to grab. Probably wouldn't hurt for that to be just, well, anywhere on a server. As a matter of fact, people can actually, as they'll see as they go through here, they could probably actually just put those up on their desktop on the server itself. So, but whatever you want to do with it, just feel free. It's just a nice little guide, but we're going to go through that today as well, obviously. But anyway, if you need a reminder for future stuff, there it is.
I think one of the most important, while we're waiting for everyone to get on, I think one of the most important things is going to be the uploading and downloading of documents, because that is a little bit of a different way of doing things now. And if you, it's important for the users to know that if you just put things in the SF portal print bucket, so to speak, whatever you put there is going to be available to everybody that has rights.
Yep, it's a public place.
SF portal print. So
if
like if
anybody remembers that, if anybody remembers anything from this, remember that.
Remember that. So if you have something like an important financial document that you put out there, and then if the key is you have to open up the little folder that says SF portal print, and inside there's a little arrow, and inside of there's a choice to choose a download. If you drag and drop your document or whatever it is inside that download, it uploads it. It puts it on your desktop, on your machine, wherever you are, right where you are. And then you can save it locally. And then it doesn't save it on the main thing. So just keep that in mind, and maybe every now and then maybe someone in admin should open up the SF portal print and see if there's things in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we still waiting on people, or where are we at?
I'd say let's go ahead and get started.
Okay. All right, let's do that. All right, so I can share this, or anybody can share this, really. Well, actually, it'd probably be good for either one of us to share this. But actually, I think at first let's start with me sharing, and let's just try this. Just a moment here. I'm going to attempt to share the screen. Oh, I can't do that. It looks like it's better for the host. That's fine.
Do a host so you can share.
Okay. All right, that'll work. Let's try to share here. There it goes. Okay. So let me know if that's hard to see. I actually made it a little small just for the sake of making it bigger on the screen. But one of the things about this that I want to make a point of is that when you first go to log in, the size of your browser is going to be pretty important, because basically whatever the size of it on your screen that it happens to be, that's going to be as big of a space as you're going to get out of it. So if you start it with the browser really small, you're going to have this tiny little space to work in for SchoolFinance. So keep that in mind. You want to make sure that that you try to get that as open and as big as you can get it, so that then you've got as much workspace as you can possibly get when you go into SchoolFinance. I think everybody has been through the login process. There are some people, some of the newer people that don't actually have logins in this copy of SchoolFinance, this particular database. You've been working in your local database where you're at right now, and you've got logins there. And once everything goes live, all that stuff is kind of poured over. So don't worry about any of that. Basically, once that happens, you should be able to log right in and it'll go all the way into SchoolFinance to where you can do things. So that's kind of important. You want to make sure that you have as much screen space as you can get before you start the SchoolFinance thing. If you forget and you're like, oh man, that stinks, you can actually just go up and log out, just like you would on your normal machine, because basically this is like a remote desktop thing. And you can sign out, and then you can just log back into it after you've maximized your screen, and it will resize it for you so that you can see it at full size and all that kind of good stuff. So, if you forget that, that's a good thing to look at. Another thing I wanted to bring up, since I don't have SchoolFinance open at the moment, is I wanted to, a lot of you are already familiar with this because you already use remote desktop to get into SchoolFinance. But some of you might not. So I'm going to go over this a little bit. Basically, what you're doing is you're logging on to basically a Windows session on a cloud server. So basically, a lot of the things that you have on your own machine, you can do on this server, and you can do it separately, and it will keep that information, which is really nice, because if you start working from home, then all your information is going to be there. If you put it on here, you can grab whatever files or whatever you have there, and you're good to go. So it certainly doesn't hurt to do that, but I'd like to go over some of the places where you might want to put things and where you don't want to put things. So to start out with, you can see there's a little file folder thing down here. You have one of those too, and you can open that up to get into some of these areas that you might not have this temporary storage. It really depends on your ID. But just like to make note of this SF portal drive that's going to come into factor later. But you also have the C drive. But I also wanted to make note of the fact that here you have a desktop, just like you have on your normal machine. You have documents, downloads, music, pictures. All of those items are there and only accessible by you. None of your other users in Caledonia can get access to this. So you can save documents there, and they'll be secure and they'll stay there. Nobody, you're not going to be able, one of your fellow workers who's mad at you for some reason is not going to be able to get into there and mess with anything. And I make note of that because when you use the portal drive to upload things, it will put it into it'll put that file into a public place, and then you're going to want to get it out of there and onto one of these areas as soon as you can. Another thing is, like when it comes to all these items, you have all the customization that you have with, your normal stuff. Like when you're on your PC or whatever, you can put things on your desktop. You can create folders on your desktop, or you can create subfolders in your documents, downloads, all that stuff. So the reason I bring that up is if you're a payroll person and you do payroll and you run the OTCH file and you do like the government reporting, or you do rep reporting, or you do any of those types of things, you don't necessarily have to pull all that information down to your machine in order to do any of that work. You can actually just save that stuff onto your desktop or whatever, and then you can go to your browser and navigate to those websites to upload those the government documents or whatnot. And since we're talking about that, just wanted to note that you have full access to Firefox and Google Chrome on here. There are some limitations on some of the sites that you can go to. You can guess which ones those are, but basically you can open them up, and if you happen to have accounts on those, you can sign into those browsers, and basically all of your information should come on over and all that kind of good stuff. And since I made my screen so small, it's not giving me much room to do stuff. But let me get out of there. That's the same for Google Chrome. Like you could open up Google Chrome on here. You could sign into Google Chrome. And what it'll do is it'll sync up all of your cookies and all that kind of stuff onto this machine, all of your different favorites and everything else, and then you could then get access to all those different things that way. As we talk, we're going to talk a little bit later about doing uploads and downloads and stuff like that. But to avoid having to do that all the time, you can actually do some of these items like your uploads and everything else right from the remote desktop session. And that should save you a little bit of time instead of having to move things back and forth and so on. Any questions about that? If you have any questions, if you want to remain muted or whatever, that's up to you. But if you do have any questions about it, feel free to send something through chat. And by the way, for people that are just getting on or whatnot, I have in chat, I've added a Word document, which has the instructions on how to upload and download. We're going to go over that today, but in case you want those for future use, you can just download them from chat and put them wherever you like. Okay, how to print. That's a very good question. We're going to go over that next. So basically, if you're familiar with using remote desktop, there are ways that you can set up resources and things and print that way. This is a little bit different because it's using your browser, and it kind of has to use the browser's rules in order to do that. But that's both a good and a bad thing. So we're going to show you real quick. I'm going to just go ahead and log in here. I'm just going to run what's just a really basic, we're going to run the chart of accounts just for example. Hopefully you're all familiar with using SchoolFinance and how you can do reports and that sort of thing. You have a number of different options. You can still export out of Excel and that sort of thing. I'm getting a little bit off path here, but I just wanted to mention this while I've got it open. You can still create a PDF directly, but we're going to actually do that more interesting way, which you'll see in a little bit. But you can still do some of these items. Now, the problem with that, though, is that you're going to be saving that Excel spreadsheet right on your own machine here, or I'm sorry, right on the server. And then that server does not have Microsoft Office installed on it. So when you go to try to open it, it's not going to really open right or do any of that kind of stuff. So then you're going to be stuck having to download it. And that's fine. It doesn't take that long to do that sort of thing. But when it gets to printing, to answer that question, basically, if you leave it just to the standard output type and you've got your settings all set, and your chart of accounts and everything, you're ready. You want to go to do a print, you can do a print, and it's going to go through the process just like it normally does. And what options you're going to have here, one of which is going to be the SF Portal Print Caledonia. This number might change from time to time every session. Don't worry too much about that, but what you want is SF Portal Print here. And, you have your page options just like you always have. But what's different about this is when you go to print, it's actually going to automatically download it to your machine. Right now, it's creating the file, it's converting it to PDF, and then it's putting it on your machine. Unfortunately, because of the way that I did my share, you don't see it pop up on my screen, but it opened right up in PDF format right on my screen. So I can see it, I can just view it and look at it, or I can print it from there, or I can save it. So basically all I did was I did the print option and I chose that printer. I chose the, I think I might have made one thing that I was going to mention here. But anyway, you choose this SF Portal Print and you hit print. And based on what your browser is set up like, it's going to either open it up right away on your machine, or it might save it to a place. You know how like when you download something from the internet, your browser is set to either save or open with something. Basically, that whole process is going to happen in this case as well. In my case, I have it set up to just open up the document, but it opens up as a PDF document, and you can then save it, do whatever you want with it, or close it down. Hopefully that answers that question. Let's see, Google Sheets is in fact an option. I believe, trying to think of what Mitchell is trying to set up for everybody. I think he's got a mind to either set up like a Google Documents, or there's some other type of cloud-based system that you'll be able to save documents to and then access through both the server that you're logged on to and your own machine. I think he had some ideas for that. I'm not too privy on that just yet, but hopefully we can have another session about that, or he can open one up or whatnot. I'd certainly be interested in what he's got planned for that sort of thing. But either way, just as it sits right now, you can hit the print button, and what it does is it creates a PDF file and then downloads it through your browser. You can open it up and do whatever you want. Preview still works the same way it always does. It shows up on the screen, and you can close it or do whatever you want to do with it. So hopefully that answered that question. If not, go ahead and send us any questions through the chat. I'd be glad to answer those. Now, there is one thing. There's one thing that you can. Where was I going with that? There's one annoying little bug. That's what I was going to talk about. There's this one annoying little bug we're trying to fix, where if you try to run the same report twice in a row, you'll get an error. Well, basically what will happen is the screen will just kind of lock up. The video will lock up, and then you can't do anything, and then eventually you'll just get kicked out of the system. What you can do to fix that, and this is actually handy to know with the browser anyway, but you can just click on the tab for the browser where you're logged in and right click on it, and you can choose to reload tab. I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and you'll see what will happen. There's kind of a temporary disconnection, and then it brings you right back to where you were. So if you ever experience that lockup, you can just go up to this tab here and right click and choose to reload tab. That works on other websites too. If you ever have issues with a particular website that just keeps locking up or doing goofy things, you can always try that process. It can often get you out of some of that junk. Sometimes, like a website will hang halfway through the data or whatnot. So anyway, that's basically how you do your printing. That's how you can run reports, all that kind of stuff. Just a warning about the reports. Like I said, if you try to run the same report twice, for some reason, it just has this weird error about it. And you can even proactively, after you've run it the first time, go up and do that reload tab, and you can run it the second time that way. It's really strange. We've been looking into trying to get it fixed, and the last release for this particular program didn't really have that fixed yet. So hopefully it will be on the next one. It's just something to watch for. Just want to make sure everybody is aware of how you can do that, and how you can get out of it is a big thing. You're not stuck there forever. So don't worry too much about that. Now, well, actually, to answer Margaret's question, as well as showing you another item here. Say you wanted to actually output this to Excel. You can output it to Excel. I would recommend doing a save. If you do a preview, most of the time it won't work. Now, if you work on Google, like you use Google Sheets and all that kind of good stuff, or even if you install the plugin for Google on that machine, you can actually go through and do Google Sheets and do things that way, or you can install a plugin that allows you to preview Excel spreadsheets and that sort of thing through a browser. But you can try doing those types of things first if you want to. But what you can normally do without doing any of that stuff is you can save this just as it is. And what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to save it. And keep in mind, this is the server's stuff. So it's going to go onto the server's desktop. It's going to go onto, like if you go into your libraries, which is all your documents, pictures, all that kind of stuff, downloads. It will save it there. I'm just going to go ahead and save it on my desktop so you can see it. And it's just basically it's exporting it in Excel format. Now, the extra step that you have to do for this to open it is like if you minimize this, you'll see that my desktop now has a chart of accounts on it. You can see it here too. Notice it's using the Google, it's using the Chrome icon. I know that throws you a little bit. You're kind of expecting to see the Microsoft Office icon, but again, Office is not installed on this machine, so you're not going to see that. But what you want to do is if you want to download this, then it's time to get to know this guy right here. And this is the SF Portal Drive, it's called. If you go into it, you'll see that there's a download folder. And so what that's going to do is if I just drag this, I'm just clicking on it, holding my click button down, my left button, and I'm going to drag it to this download folder. And then what it's going to do is it's going to download through your browser. And right now, I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually downloading it to my machine so that I can then open it up and do whatever I need to do with it. So that's how you download. And again, that's in the documents that I set up, that I offered up there in the top of the chat. And you scroll up on the chat and you'll see that document's there. It shows you how to both upload and download. And we're going to get to uploading here shortly. Anyway, that's how you download any file, really. You can download chart of accounts. If I had any other types of files here, if there was something I downloaded off a website and I wanted to, downloaded it onto the server and I need to download that onto my own machine, you can just drag and drop it into this download folder. And just an FYI, if you go into this download folder, there's nothing there. Basically, you can just pretend that that's a command in a way instead of a folder. It's like by dragging something into that, you're telling the system, please download this through my browser so that I can get it on my own machine. And so if there's any questions about that, feel free to put that in chat. And so I'm finally going to go to uploads, and that's a little bit more difficult. So say you have something on your own machine and you need to upload it onto the server. Okay, that's like if you had an import, if you downloaded an Excel spreadsheet that was your budget, for example, and you're messing around with your budget on the spreadsheet and everything else, you get it just the way you want it and everything else, save it on your machine, on your own laptop or PC or whatnot, and you want to bring it up to the SchoolFinance server to upload it and import it into SchoolFinance. This is what you would do. And this is also in the instructions. What you want to do is you want to make sure that this tab, the tab that you're in for, getting to your stuff, is highlighted so that you're actually focused on this. And you can just kind of click on any of these items here or whatnot, just so that you can see that it's focused on that. And you're going to do a Control, Alt, and Shift. That's your Shift key. It's just below your Enter key. And this little item comes up here. And we can talk about the clipboard bit here in a little bit too. But but basically, anyway, to upload, you just go to your devices here. It says shared drive, and you're going to see a familiar. Oh, I guess you're not. You're going to see. Basically, it's giving you the list of all the files that are actually in here. Hopefully, you're seeing that. My mouse float around here. It's showing you basically that SF Portal Drive on Guacamole RDP, blah, 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 blah. And so you can choose to upload files from there. So I'm going to click on this. I don't know if you guys see the prompt that basically, it's opening up just like if you were to do a save as, or if you were, it's wanting you to pick a file from your machine. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a file real quick here. I don't have anything interesting. Oh, well, I'm just going to go with so I'm just bringing up this file, and so you can see it actually shows you the file transfer in the lower right here. It shows you progress and all that kind of good stuff. Whoops. Daggum. Sorry about that. It'll pop right up here in a moment. And lo and behold, here it is, and it's sitting out here. Now, I had mentioned this earlier. I'm not sure if everybody was on at the time. Just want to repeat it because it's really important. If there's anything that you want to remember about this whole thing, it's this. Anything that's on this portal drive, anything that's in this list is public. That means anybody in your organization can see that file. So if it's something that's sensitive, you want to make sure that after it's done uploading, that you get it out of there as soon as possible. So what you can do is you can just drag and drop it onto your desktop. Sometimes it's better to do a cut and paste. So you can do a cut like this. You can right click, or if you're familiar with Control X, you can also do that. And there's also a nice little item where if you just hold the shift key and do a drag over onto your desktop or whatever folder you want to put it in, that is an automatic move as well. So like, so if you want to do something other than just copy and paste it, you can hold the shift button down, and that's actually makes it a cut and paste. And just an FYI, if you want it to not move it, you can hold the control button down, and that's a copy and paste. It's just a little Windows FYI on that. Daniel is speaking my language. I tried doing that when we first started putting this out, and it worked great for the session. He was asking, can we put a shortcut to the download folder on the desktop? And that's basically, I'll show you what he's talking about right here. You can just do send to desktop, create shortcut. And it works for the session. That session works perfectly fine. So if I created this and I was just to drag everything into here, it downloads. So if there is something that if you're expecting to do a lot of downloads during a session, that might speed things up a little bit. But once you leave the session, once it closes down, unfortunately, it doesn't work anymore. It just kind of errors out and you're done. So unfortunately, it works for the short term, but not for the long term. But yeah, I tried that early on and I was like so excited, and then I logged back in and it's like, oh, it's not working anymore. So unfortunately, that's the case, but you can do it temporarily and just create a shortcut there, and it will work for that session. So that's the portal drive, basically. You want to, uploads are going to show up right here in this main folder area. That is public. Everybody in your organization can see those files. So if it's something sensitive, you want to get it out of there ASAP. Put it on your desktop, put it in your downloads, music, pictures, all that, any of those items. Those are your personal areas. People can't get to those. So, those are safe areas. Don't worry about those. And then to download, you just drag whatever file you want into this download area and it downloads it. And so now I have it back on my machine. Any questions about uploading or downloading? Okay. If you come up with anything, throughout, just feel free to do the chat. I think we're about done with all that.
Add-on?
I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, that must have been for something else. Let's see. Everything else pretty much behaves the same in SchoolFinance. So especially since a lot of you are used to using remote desktop, you'll get familiar with how it works through remote desktop. One of the things that I like a lot about this system set up on here is that it is just a whole lot faster than just the standard setup. It just responds really quickly as you're moving through the tabs in the employees and that sort of thing. It just zips right through, and reports get done really quickly as well. Let's see, I think that's pretty much it. Just another reminder that's kind of related to what I was talking about here about getting files out of this area. Don't try to import files directly from that area. It just comes up with an error because SchoolFinance doesn't really recognize this as an actual drive, because it literally isn't. It's just kind of a virtual drive that's sitting out there that obeys commands and does things and puts files in places temporarily, but it's not really meant to be an official drive for putting stuff on and storing and that sort of thing. So you want to just, like I was saying, once you upload something, you want to either cut and paste it somewhere or move it to there, or just get it off of there. Even if it's not sensitive, you probably just want to get it off of there just so that there's not a bunch of junk sitting around. All that kind of good stuff. Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Basically, I would normally describe logging in, but I think a lot of you are pretty familiar with that now. Mitchell did a great job of going from person to person and helping them set things up. Helping them log in for the first time. If there are any issues with logging in, you can certainly talk to him, but you can also call, just like you could with SchoolFinance. If there was an issue there, you can always call us as well, or email us at sfsupport@link.com. That's LINQ.com, and ask us any questions. If you just have any normal questions about any of this, feel free to, either give us a call, 888-832-3400, or send us an email, and we'll be glad to help you. Okay. Well, I think that's all we need to go over if no one has any questions. Again, if you have any issues, give us a call or send us an email. We'd be glad to help you out.
And I'm not sure if anyone from tech wanted to give an update at this point at all, but I can kind of speak to what we are looking at. I don't know the exact timeline, but we are looking to move to this cloud version as soon as possible. So we aren't moving over when it gets really busy towards the very end of the school year. So we're hoping this transition can happen here pretty quickly, and it will probably be easier once everyone is logged into the system and moving around to practice some of this. And we will be able to have some templates like Rob shared of how to follow, how to print and upload and download, and we will work with you. So don't stress or panic about that at all right now. So we'll work with each of you. And it'll just take getting used to how it operates in this browser version.
Yeah. Feel free to call us. If you can't remember any of the instructions I gave for this, if you have any questions, if you're having trouble, printing doesn't seem to be working quite right for you or whatnot, feel free to give us a call. It's kind of hard to describe to people because browsers all work so differently. How the downloads go and how you even have it set up, that can all look different. And I want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with all this. So, yep, by all means, give us a call. Yeah, as far as we're pretty much ready when you guys are, when you're ready to switch over. If you want to, have people get familiar for a while, a few days or a week or whatnot, that's perfectly good. But we're ready to roll when you guys are.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate everything.
Yep, you're very welcome. If you want to do another one later on, that's perfectly good too. If you want to do another appointment, if people are still feeling unfamiliar, uncomfortable with it, we can certainly do another one and do some more question and answer and all that kind of good stuff.
All right, perfect.
All right.
All right, have a good day, everyone.
All right. Yep, take care, everybody.